Voting has begun in the US state of New Hampshire in the latest round of polling to choose the candidates for the presidential election in November. All the opinion polls suggest Donald Trump has a strong lead for the Republican Party, while in the race for the Democratic nomination, the self-proclaimed socialist Bernie Sanders is ahead of Hillary Clinton. Barbara Plett-Usher has the latest.
It's a New Hampshire tradition.
America.
The first ballots were cast just after midnight in the tiny town of Dixville, 20 kilometres from the Canadian border. Its 9 voters gave a sneak preview of what this day might look like. The 5 Republicans split their vote between the billionaire businessman Donald Trump and the moderate Ohio governor John Kasich. All 4 of the Democrats threw their support behind Bernie Sanders.
Well, I say...
No one thought the Democratic Socialist would get this far, but he's expected to win in New Hampshire, and he needs to for his cause to advance.
Great to see you here.
His opponent, Hillary Clinton, aims to narrow the gap with him here, but she's already looking further afield to her big advantage with minority voters.
I appreciate your service to our country very much.
The Republican race is more crowded and more nasty. Senator Marco Rubio is downplaying his rough outing in Saturday's debate, where he was hammered for being inexperienced and overly scripted. He's become the man to beat for moderate candidates.
Our next president must be prepared to lead. I know Jeb.
Candidates such as former Governor Jeb Bush, who's finally drafted his controversial brother into his campaign, and 2 other governors, Chris Christie and John Kasich. They're competing to be the establishment's alternative to the frontrunner Donald Trump.
I hear we're going to do well, but the snow is out there. I don't know what effect will the snow have. Will it have an effect?
But he's under pressure to show he can win after losing in Iowa.
Well, I spoke to Barbara a short time ago. She gave us an update from a polling station in the East Coast state where officials say they're expecting a record turnout despite recent bad weather.
There was concern, I think, especially yesterday because there was a snowstorm and the candidates were trying to get in their last rallies, and so there was some concern that there would be low turnout and that it might also affect the voters. But certainly here at this voting station, the Green Street Community Centre, there's been a very steady group of voters coming in and out and expected to continue throughout the day. And the state officials have said that they expect a record turnout, some 550,000 people casting their votes. So it looks as if the weather at this point will not be a factor. But it's going to be a full day of voting, so we won't know until the end of it who's going to have made their mark and who might have to drop out at the end of it, because this vote, although it's only the second in what's going to be a long process of trying to select a candidate, does have a way of sort of clearing the field and making the picture a bit more clear.
Barbara, New Hampshire significant because there was a time where they were very good at predicting who the next president would be.
Well, yes, they do. Most presidents have won either in New Hampshire or Iowa, although New Hampshire doesn't have a great record of picking the winner since about 1976. I think the key thing about New Hampshire is that what it does is it makes things a little bit more clear going forward. So if you haven't done well in Iowa, you need to do well in New Hampshire to at least get noticed, get some momentum get the donors behind you as you continue on into the rest of the race. If you tank here in New Hampshire and you haven't done well in Iowa, then there's going to be pressure on you either personally because you're running out of money or from the party to drop out. So what it does do is it has a way of winnowing the field, thinning out the candidates, and the Republicans really need that because they have a very crowded field. So I think the hope from Republican officials and donors is that there will be some clarity after this vote with fewer candidates so that they can focus on fewer candidates.
That's our correspondent Barbara Plett-Usher there in New Hampshire at the primaries. Now back